In graphing quadratic functions, first of all, what is a quadratic function? It is a function in the form ax squared plus bx plus c, where a is not 0. All right. So what are we looking at? We're looking at a polynomial with a degree of 2. And so if we look at example number 1, complete the table of values for the quadratic function y is equal to x squared. Well, this is a quadratic function because a is 1, b is 0, and c is 0. And so we're going to go ahead and fill out the chart and graph the function. So how do we do this? Well, we'll just plug in, right? So we have x is equal to -3. So that means y is equal to -3 times -3. That is positive 9. Our next x value is -2. So -2 times -2 is positive 4. When x is equal to 1, y is going to equal to positive 1, because -1 times -1 is equal to positive 1. And when x is equal to 0, y is equal to 0. X is equal to 1, y is equal to 1. X is equal to 2, y is equal to 4. And x is equal to 3, y is equal to 9. So we've figured out some ordered pairs for this quadratic function by filling out the chart. And so now we're going to go ahead and graph it. So let's go -3. -3 and positive 9 is going to be here. -2 and positive 4 is going to be there. -1 and positive 1 is here. 0, 0 is the center of the graph. And we have 1, 1 is there. 2, 4 is here. And 3, 9 is over here. So we'll go ahead and connect them all. And put some arrows there at the ends. So let's go ahead and answer some of these questions. What direction, up or down, does the graph open? And so we could see here that the graph is opening with its arrows pointing upward. So it is going up. What is the coefficient of x squared? Well, what is a coefficient? It's the number in front of the variable. So what is the coefficient? There is no coefficient. So the coefficient is a 1. Okay. Does the graph of y equals x squared have a highest point or a lowest point? Well, does it have a highest point? These arrows means the graph goes that way for infinity. This arrow means it goes that way for infinity. So infinity means that there is no highest point. It's going to go on forever and ever and ever. But there is a lowest point. The lowest point is right here. Right? So let's go ahead and say 0, 0 is the lowest point. So that's example number 1. Let's go ahead and do example number 2. Here we have the same quadratic form equation, except we have a negative x squared. Right? And negative x squared, well, the coefficient here is a -1. Okay, so let's go ahead and try filling out this chart where we have our x values at -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3. Starting with -3, well, we're going to go ahead and do it's negative parentheses -3 times -3, right? So let's say y is equal to, that negative can be a little bit confusing, but this is the way the calculation works. We have a negative, and then we have x times x is x squared, right? And if x is -3, then it's -3 times -3, and the sign is flipped because of that negative on the outside of the parentheses. So -3 times -3 is positive 9. But then because of the negative on the outside, it is -9. Let's do the same for -2. It's -2 times -2 is positive 4. But that negative is going to flip it, so it's going to be -4. Right? 1 times 1 is, negative times -1 is positive 1. But the negative flips it, so it's -1. Next one's going to be 0. The next one here is going to be -1, -4, and -9. All right, so let's go ahead and graph these. So it's -3, -9. So we're down here. We have -2, -4. We are here. -1, -1. We're here. 0, 0. 1, -1. 2, -4 goes here. And 3, -9 goes down at the bottom. And I'll go ahead and connect all of these dots, putting little arrows at the ends of the line, signifying that the lines continue moving downward. Right? So now let's go ahead and answer these questions. What direction does the graph open up, either up or down? Well, we can see that the graph is opening up downward. Right? So let's go ahead and say down. What's the coefficient of x squared? Well, we're looking here at our equation, and the coefficient is -1, right? If there is no number, the coefficient is 1, so it's -1, like so. Does the graph of y is equal to x squared have a highest point or a lowest point? Well, its lowest point is, there is no lowest point, because the graph continues moving downward for infinity. Is there a highest point? Yes, it's right here. Right, so that's going to be 0, 0. Right down here, describe the shape of the graphs in example 1 and 2. So the shape of this graph, I would call it a U-shaped graph. Right? Let's go ahead and say. And then the shape of this graph, we would call it like an N-shaped graph. Right? And the word that we would use here is a parabola. All right, parabola. And what is a parabola? It's like as if you shot a rocket and it went into space, but it came back down, right? So that's what this guy is right here. And then this one over here is also a parabola, like we're shooting a rocket into space, but it's upside down, right? It's going back upward. Maybe here's us shooting it from the bottom of the earth, and it's going up, but because it's at the bottom of the earth, it's going down, and then it comes back up to fall to the earth, which is upside down. Right? And so down here we have the U-shaped graph is called a parabola, which is the shape of the graph in a quadratic function.